Yo, how's it going, everybody? Good to be back home. Had a great time in Southern California last weekend at my friend Neil's Portal to Ascension conference. But now, back to headquarters, back to the grind. It's been a minute since I've done one of these videos. Got some catching up to do. In this particular one, we're going to talk about one of Q's recent drops, very important concepts to reconcile within the one we're going to discuss. And then the main topic of this video, like I said, do a little bit of catch up, is a lot of the human trafficking and child sex abuse news that have been coming out the past week or so. Lots of stuff to discuss there. And these are topics that not a lot of people like to discuss, but they need to be, and they're not going to get exposed if we don't. So let's go ahead and begin. The Q drop that we're going to discuss is the very last one that we have so far. Post 2380 from last night, October 9th. And this one is basically outlining all of the reasons why those arrests, those mass arrests that everybody is impatient for, everybody wants, but they haven't happened yet. Now let's read this. It says, "We understand that there is extreme fatigue and frustration regarding the wheels of justice being slow, but exclude emotion and personal desire. Instead, use logic and critical thinking based on situational awareness." Okay? We're not going to be able to undo a lifetime of evil if we have corruption and infestation in the Department of Justice and FBI. And keep in mind, in a span of less than 2 years, we've been working on this out in the open with Donald Trump in office, with a changing of the guard. We've only been doing this for a couple of years now, okay? Process and planning, law and order. It's a military operation in play. Great question here. How can you make arrests, non-military, prior to first fully cleaning out corrupt elements at the top of those departments, the FBI and the DOJ, that oversee investigation and prosecution in the United States? Basically, how are these arrests going to happen if the people that do the investigation and the prosecutions and the arrests, those institutions, are co-opted, are compromised? It's not going to happen, okay? It's a long process we have in first cleaning out the FBI and DOJ, and then we can get to what we want. Right here, Q goes through a list of all the people at the FBI and DOJ that have been outed since, or basically over the past 2 years. James Comey, Andrew McCabe, James Baker, Bill Priestap, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page. Look at that. Fired, 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 power removed, fired, forced out. And then Q says batter's box with a list of names here. Basically, the people who are up next to be fired, forced out, power removed, or something of the sort. Q then says, how do you ensure those prosecuted non-military would receive an impartial judgment based on the rule of law? We also have to have a proper Supreme Court, proper judges in place, right? Again, this is so deep, so expansive of an operation. It's not going to happen overnight, guys. And this corruption that we have as well in our control systems, in all the control systems, media, three-letter agencies, in the medical systems with big pharma, in our financial institutions, right? All of this control, all of this infiltration did not happen, again, overnight. Didn't happen in the course of even a few years or a couple decades. This has been centuries of infestation, of corruption into all of the control systems that we have in our society. So again, take your emotion, take your own personal desires, your own expectations out of the picture. I'm impatient. I want to rest just like all of you do, okay? But I understand that this is some deep stuff going on. And there are so many pieces in play in this operation that we have to be patient. We have to understand that there's a lot of stuff that we might not even consciously perceive that needs to be accounted for with all of this going on. And then there's a few other questions and statements down here. How do you remove the installed blockade? You declassify. How do you navigate around an installed corrupt FBI and DOJ? Use a stealth bomber. Who's that stealth bomber? Jeff Sessions, flying under the radar, but we already know that with John Huber, who Sessions installed about a year ago now, and his nearly 500 investigators, they've been racking up those sealed indictments around the country. Jeff Sessions staying real low-key, out of the picture, as to let this all happen. As Q says right here, logical thinking versus clickbait. Okay? So that's really the only Q post that I wanted to go over right now, just to reiterate those points. It's a long game, guys. Long game. We only got one shot at this. So we need to make that one shot happen as non-chaotic as possible, as easy as possible, to make the continuity of all these changing of the guards, right? Basically, so the deep state can't do anything crazy while all this is going on. We already know they want to do as much as they can, but we've got to take the power away from them, take that ability away from them while this is going on. Again, it's such a deep operation in play. Patience, guys, patience. All right, so now let's get into some of those human trafficking, sex abuse, etc. news. First one comes by way of Zero Hedge. Right here, Pope Francis, the divisive devil, is responsible for Catholic pedophile epidemic. Mama said it was the devil. Mama says it's the devil's fault, right? That's what I thought of when I saw this. Pope Francis, who stands accused of covering up widespread sexual abuse within the Catholic Church, says that the devil is trying to divide and attack the organization. And what Pope Francis is calling for is basically just prayer. He made some statements over the weekend where he was calling for prayer in the month of October to repel the attacks of the devil who wants to divide the church, said Francis, who described the devil as the great accuser. I love this sentence that Zero Hedge writes. Perhaps the power of 1.2 billion praying Catholics in October will be enough to overcome the devil's influence over the praying priests. Ha! So again, all Pope Francis is calling for is silence and prayer because he's got nothing else to say. He's been covering up all sorts of sex abuse in the church, and so many other popes over the years have been doing the exact same thing. So very good that Pope Francis and the Vatican Church is being put on blast in multiple countries, all sorts of investigations coming to the surface about child sex abuse among the ranks, whether it's state, country, up towards the International Vatican itself. Very good that this is all coming to light. Another thing coming to light, look at this. Prince Harry's former bodyguard spared jail after downloading 10,000 child sex images. Spared jail. The reason he was spared jail is because the judge basically called him mentally unfit. That was the excuse they used. And then they said his remarkable history as a top-ranking soldier basically allowed him to skirt around jail. And then getting into this article a little bit, it says that investigators searched his computer. They found search terms including kids, toddler, and baby pics. And then, at first this guy just claimed he only searched the child porn, but then after they raided his hard drive, they found the 10,000 explicit images. Some moving images were an hour in duration, so he had hour-long videos. What the hell? They also discovered more than 380 bestiality images. What the heck? So apparently he was mentally unfit, but he was fit enough to be Prince Harry's former bodyguard. So what the heck's going on here? Again, these people are very sick. They all like to work in the same groups, and I'm thinking that maybe he took the fall for some reason or another, but his connections apparently to Prince Harry and whoever else in the upper offices in England there were able to get him out of jail. That's just disgusting. That shouldn't happen. Some news here on Nexium. Check this out. So Nexium doctor who branded women still practicing during investigation. So her name is Dr. Danielle Roberts, a woman who has been accused of branding women involved in the Nexium sex cult, is still practicing medicine. So this woman, she hasn't been arrested. And these are still accusations, but these accusations have not been cleared yet, okay? And even so, she's still practicing medicine in New York. She still has her website up where she's charging people, I think it says in here, $750 per class for a program designed to build total mastery over the physical, emotional, and thought components of human performance. So, it's just some, holistic health coach jargon there, $750 a class. But look at this. She's actually appearing at a New York medical conference called Naval Expo that's going on in November. And that organization apparently is okay with having her there, having her speak. The Naval Expo materials don't make any mention of her connections to Nexium. But hey, just keep that in mind. These people are still out there. There's still a lot of work to do. And bringing that idea into the picture, Nexium, the Nexium busts that have happened. A few people have been arrested and charged. Keith Raniere, Allison Mack, among them. This is one answer you can give to people who claim that there have been no high-profile anything yet. Like, where are the arrests? Where are the arrests? Well, just look at the Nexium bus. These people were directly connected to the Clintons and the Rothschilds and more than that. So, Nexium bus, boom. Big stuff going on. And those investigations, those prosecutions are still ongoing. Court cases still happening in regards to Nexium. I want to take a quick moment and shout out a sponsor of this YouTube channel in Noble Gold Investments. They will help you invest your money into gold and silver, which gives you a much better return than the volatile stock market, what can be in the long run, twice better return. And they actually have this awesome commemorative silver Trump coin that they've just released, detailing his economic progress, his economic accomplishments on the back from it. If you want to pick up one of these or look into Noble Gold's services, check them out. There'll be a link in the description below. Okay, last few things I want to make note of. Busts. We got some busts going on around the country. So in Michigan, over 120 missing children found safe during a human trafficking sting. Authorities in Michigan, just over one night, September 26th, the U.S. Marshals, the Michigan State Police, and several agencies basically took the files of 300 missing children that they were investigating for quite a while. They acted on the intelligence they had, and they identified and recovered 123 of those missing children during the sting. Okay? And this is very huge. That's a lot of children in just one sting over one night. Imagine if this happened around the country with all agencies from all different states and federal agencies assisting them. How many children would be saved? God, thousands, tens of thousands? Could we even say in the hundreds of thousands range? Maybe. There's a lot of missing children that disappear in this country every year. And then another point I want to make in regards to this, okay? People are waiting for the high-profile arrests, right? Which are coming. Be patient. But one point to make here is that what about the low-profile arrests? Those are just as important, okay? There's a lot of those going on. So with this cleansing going on in the FBI, at the top, that's allowing the rank and file, the boots-on-the-ground agents in the FBI to do the jobs that they've been stifled from doing for so long. So there is evidence that these federal investigators are getting freed up. The corruption is ending in the three-letter agencies, so we can have trafficking stings like this, or drug trafficking stings, or whatever the case is, right? So things are going on, guys, and there is a lot of evidence for that. This sting, we had another sting in Florida as well. In Polk County, Florida, there seems to be a lot of trafficking stings happening there over the past couple of years. Hotbed for this kind of nasty stuff. But 13 men, including a cook at Disney and a former military police officer, were all arrested in an undercover online child predator operation. So, looks like undercover detective posed as girls and boys on social media for a few days from October 2nd to 7th, and then they were able to arrest 13 men. Look at that. A cook at Disney. A cook at Disney. Guys, I've never been to Disney. I'm never going to go to Disney. I'm never going to let anybody in my family go to Disney. Weird place. Very weird place. Very good news that more people, not only are we getting children saved around the country, but the predators are getting arrested. Fantastic. And then last thing I want to share with you guys here in this one is an event that happened at a Kathy Griffin show. Kathy Griffin, that just like bane on society. Her voice is awful and her stand-up sucks, and she's a very just weird human being. Anyway, Pizzagate Howie, PG Howie, confronted Kathy Griffin at her show about her brother being a pedophile. A few years ago, came to light that Kathy Griffin's brother was a pedophile. She didn't say anything about it. So that's what Pizzagate Howie was confronting her at her show about. Why didn't you say anything about your pedo brother, Kathy Griffin? And then the crowd basically booed him out of the audience. I don't know what sort of brainwashing was going on in that crowd, but they booed him out of the place. So shout out to Howie for having the balls to do that. Fantastic thing to do, something that I think we need to do more. No violence, but just raise our voices. Raise our voices in these public settings, get it on camera, and show the fallout of that. Show the fallout of the people booing, for instance, Howie out of the crowd, and they have no idea that, oh my gosh, they are watching the show of really, really sick individuals. And what's funny is that Donald Trump Jr. actually retweeted this story. So you can see here, Donald Trump Jr. retweeted this story on Breaking News Live, their Twitter account. Said, watch, crowd member confronts liberal comedian Kathy Griffin on why she didn't report her brother, who is a pedophile, to the police. So Donald Trump Jr. retweets that story, and that just lights Kathy Griffin up. Totally makes her lose her shit. She goes on a huge Twitter stringer a couple of days ago saying, this morning, Don Jr. retweeted this tweet, which contains a video of Pizzagate/QAnon guy screaming at me at my show in Philly over the weekend. So what's funny is that in this video from Howie, PG Howie, there was no mention of Pizzagate, there was no mention of QAnon, nothing of that sort, but Kathy Griffin trying to throw shade on those subjects, calling him a Pizzagate QAnon guy, screaming at me at my show, and just goes into this whole victim rant that, oh my God, this kind of harassment is coordinated. I'm being harassed. Oh my gosh, my life. I'm the victim here. I'm the victim, blah, 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 all this stuff. So, oh boo-hoo, Trump Jr. triggers her so bad with just one retweet. She rage babbles in pathetic poor me thread. I found this article on the subject, thought the headline was funny, so wanted to show it to you guys. All right, so that's all I wanted to do in this video here. Again, there's lots of stuff going on in this world right now. Lots of dark being brought to light. Much of that darkness involves human trafficking, child sex abuse, human sacrifice. I'm probably going to get demonetized instantly for talking about these things in this video, but they need to be talked about, okay? You're not going to get rid of them if you don't talk about it. You're not going to scatter the cockroaches in the corner if you don't shine the light on them, all right? So, very important things to discuss. And I know a lot of people are waiting for arrest. They're waiting for the fireworks, big things to happen, but understand that there are a lot of things happening, things we might not always see, things we might not always perceive as being important, but they are. The small stings going on around the country are not small, they're absolutely important. And those high-profile arrests that we're all waiting for, we're salivating over, right? They are coming, they are imminent. Just think, in 5, 10, 20 years from now, we're going to, after the arrests happen and some time has gone on, we're going to look back thinking about history and go, wow, it truly happened in the blink of an eye. This is happening fast. Q popped on the scene just a year ago. Donald Trump into office just 2 years ago. I mean, this plan has been in place for much longer than that, but think of how fast everything is moving now. Ridiculously fast, guys. So keep the patience and revel in the fact that you get to live in some of the most exciting times in human history. You want these arrests to happen, but you don't realize that this is actually very exciting watching all this go down. So be grateful for it. Thank you, guys. I'll be talking to you again soon. Done.